Richard.
Howdy. I live in Oklahoma in the United States, so it's howdy.
That works. Thank you for that awesome regard. Um, Welcome to one of the first interviews we are doing as a team, and we're very happy and proud to have you as our guest. So welcome, and I'm really looking forward to discussing all the retail trends with you. And that is because you've been a retail technology guru for the last how many?
About 25, 30 years, something like that.
That's pretty amazing. And we're really looking forward to all of your insights and perspective on the industry, especially due to pandemic and the events that have happened. But before we start on the trends, I want to ask you a few questions.
Oh no.
Oh no, but this is the interview, Richard.
Oh, okay.
You've started a YouTube channel recently uh, where you talk about retail technology, and its name is Wizard of POS. So please, we want to hear why.
Oh, the Wizard of Pause. Well, for 20 years, I was the chief technology architect for the Association for Retail Technology Standards, and in that role, I was the guy behind the curtain. And for years, I used that from the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the curtain, as a picture of me. And at one point, I had two different people, one in the hotel industry and one in the food service industry. Within 1 week, they both called me the Wizard of Paws. So
Wow.
that got
Completely
me thinking.
independently.
Independent, they don't know each other. They still don't know each other to this day, right? It was really weird. And then at the NRF show, one of the vendors had a Wizard of Paws booth where they took your picture and put it up on the Wizard of Paws. And at that point, I said, "Hey, this is it. I'm going
It's
to
the
be the
sign.
Wizard of Paws." Yeah. So now I am officially the Wizard of Paws.
Well, that's really amazing. I don't have a hat. Oh my God. I guess I need more experience. But you know what? That's pretty amazing. It's like it was destiny,
I
right?
guess. Yeah, it was driven that way. Yeah.
Yes, that's pretty amazing story, Richard. That's what I can tell you. And we've only started. Um, really awesome. So now that we know why are you Wizard of Oz, at least where the name came from, we really just want to reflect on your experience at Arts and being a chief officer there. What are the best memories you have from that period, and what is something you'll never forget?
Oh, the best experience was working with all of the subject matter experts. Arch extensively covers the retail world on the technology side, and there were 1,450 subject matter experts that got involved in,
Wow.
in building all of that work. So we'd start some new work and we'd go out and recruit the people who knew all about it. And so I got to work with some of the most brilliant people in retail over the 20-year period. And then going out and helping companies understand all of that work. There's somewhere between 15 and 20,000 attributes in all of that work, and understanding it is a bit of a challenge. So I've been able to go out to over 20 different countries and teach retailers and vendors about this work. So that's it. So the world travel has been a great part of what I really remember about this.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the best stories was a company called Retalix. They had me come over and teach them all of this stuff because they were building a new point of sale system. And this was actually in 2010, I think it was, around there. So I went and taught them all of the pieces and how to build a modern point of sale system. They were the first one to come out with an inherent system that did buy online, pick up in the store natively,
Mm-hmm.
and they were so successful. NCR bought them, and it's called the Emerald Systems today. So I take credit for their work.
Wow, that's really so you were there, if I can say that, if I can, you were there before the digitalization even happened. You were there
Oh,
from the very, very beginning, right? Like,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
not to refer to your age, but you've been there for quite some time, right?
I dye my beard white on purpose.
Of course, that's what I knew that. 100%. Just to refer to the number you've mentioned, 1,450 subject matter experts.
Yep, that's it.
That's pretty amazing. That's really amazing. So, at the end, it's usually all about the people. I think that's where the best memories and stories come from. So that's pretty amazing. So we're really happy that you're here with us to share your thoughts on retail industry. So I want to start with one interesting question. Yeah, so the question was, how do you see changes in retail industry through last 100 years? So you can just start talking.
Okay. 100 years ago, the retailers took the money from the customers and they put it in a cigar box. And of course, theft was quite high. And along came cash registers. And eventually, they became electronic cash registers. And in the 1960s, IBM came up with the first point of sale system that was kind of integrated with the back office and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it grew with the point of sale concept for a long time, and then finally came along the internet. And when the internet first started, retailers thought it was a flash in the pan. It was going to go away. Nobody would stay with it. But because of
Imagine that.
yeah, but because of kids and video games, and eventually the pandemic, it's become an integral part of retailers today. So that's the big change, is moving to an integrated point of in-store experience with a integrated web experience is the real challenge of today. So that's the growth over the last 100 years, and that's not going to go away because people have become so used to being able to do comparison shopping online before they go into the store, or buy online and have it delivered to the home. You get a lot of just regular things that you buy all the time, like bread and milk, and you can have them regularly delivered to your house, and you don't have to go fight the crowds at the grocery stores. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
that
convenience, and once we have it, we don't want to go back.
that's right. That's right.
I would mention omni-channel retailing because I think that's something where kind of retail industry trends are going towards too. But I want to touch base on that later. Before, I want to ask you, who are best retailers in the States and why? Like, which ones are the most progressive? Which ones are most creative and why?
The most progressive one, of course, is Amazon. Um, and Amazon has got some brilliant people there because they started off with the website, and they built the Amazon Web Services world to support that website and the sales there. And they realized at that point that they had something unique enough that they put it out for the public to be able to use. And they're becoming like the number one retailer on the technology side because of that Amazon Web Services piece. Other ones are Target, Macy's, um, uh, Kroger. Those are some of the big ones today, and mostly because they've got an innovative leadership that sees what's going on. You've got to watch that. The modern world, it's kind of fascinating because as I was explaining the growth, when new things were brought into the world of retail, they were bolted on to existing systems. Retailers started with one store, They grew to 2 stores, and pretty soon they had to have a common data model, and then they had to have common inventory. And each one of those was bolted on because technology wasn't their focus. Selling items were their focus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that the pandemic showed the massive weakness with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this agile world that's today is where that goes. And being able to change directions on a dime is critical for retailers today. Um, and one of the things that I've done, I've created a model called IVRM, for Interactive Virtual Unified Retail Model, to help
Mm-hmm.
them understand the cross connections. Because through my background, I've been to lots of retailers, and I listen to them when I ask, okay, what do you do when you sell something? And one group says, well, we do this, and then we throw the results over the wall to the next group, and they do that, and then they do their thing and throw the results of that over the wall to the next group. And one group didn't know what the next group does. That contributes to this real problem of changing directions, because you've got people who don't know the entire system and how it all interrelates. And that's one of the reasons that I created the IVRA model, to help them get over that.
Of course. So you've mentioned that one of the things all of the best retailers have is actually innovative leadership. And of course, they have to pay attention to what's going on in the world, follow trends, have also wide knowledge, right, about the the big perspective. But is there anything else that all of them have in common?
Hire good people.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Beyond that, my focus is on the retail, on the technology side.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing on their product side and the business side, I've not been uh, intimately following, outside of identifying the processes that you need and how you support them with the technology.
But we can say that most of the best retailers do have had implemented latest technology.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's part of the leadership thing. Yes, of course.
100%. So yeah, there's nothing we can't escape it, but follow it. And in terms of that, pandemic has kind of speed up everything in terms of technology and processes. So, how do you see that development? Do you see speeding it? Do you see that it's going to speed up even more, or will it slow down and kind of catch up the pace?
That's a tough question to easily answer. Okay.
Okay.
There will be some who will try to force the flexibility on their siloed world, and some of them have done that. It's just, it creates a really massive headache for them in the long term. It may be a good short term solution. And there are others who have moved into the agile world and followed that without getting into the details of it. And those are the ones that are going to be the leaders. I like to uh, describe the two as the ones who do the siloed model are more like a battleship. They can turn, but it takes a long distance for them to turn. Whereas the ones who are in the agile world are more like a motorboat. They can turn around inside their own width. I mean, they just flip around in a heartbeat. That lets them change directions. This this agile thing, I've been building architectures for a long time. That's why the gray hair.
Of course.
And 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 this stuff today is pretty amazing. Um, One of my videos is on that, by the way. There's 43 videos, so I don't remember which one's which, but
No, it will definitely put the link so everybody can go and check it out. But I think we can say that being able to adjust to the new environment also brings to the overall success of retailers.
yeah, and from a customer's viewpoint, which is
Yeah.
what it's all about, right? You get a customer and you turn them into a loyal customer. And that's where a vast majority of your sales go. And being able to have a tightly integrated uh, uh, brick and mortar with your web is what really is the future. And you can't have them as separate entities. There was one company I was working with that turned their inventory system off when they closed the store. And customers were going online trying to buy things. And it turned out that they didn't have them in inventory when they actually came up with it. So that's not good. You don't create good customer service if you sell them things you don't have.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely say that offline has become online and online has become offline. It's like a blended experience. And
Exactly.
maybe somebody would think, oh, brick and mortar doesn't work anymore. We're going to go online. But it's kind of going together.
Absolutely. It's a
Okay.
combination. People love to go walk around a store and touch stuff. And that's critical. So you can't eliminate that. There's people who say that, like you said, that the brick and mortar is going away. It'll never go away.
Yeah,
It'll morph into something else, but it'll still be where people can go touch stuff.
absolutely. You've mentioned customers. So my question is, how has the customer changed? We know that convenience is number one. We know that we want everything right now. So what will retailers have to do in order to satisfy the buyer and their
But
needs?
yeah, yeah. As you said, the customers expect this integrated experience, and that's probably the number one thing. They don't like getting a price for one thing on the web and a different price for something in the brick and mortar store for the same thing. They like having the ability to find something and then go into the store and physically touch it and then buy it in the store. So they do their shopping, if you will, online, and they're picking up and buying in the store. So that's a huge difference. And having an integrated experience is great. Having connections to your customer. As I said, a vast majority of retailer sales go to loyal customers. So
Hmm.
creating and managing and maintaining that loyal customer is critical to the future. And so you've got to make sure it's all integrated together.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's where we come to balance. But balance
Yep.
is always balance is good for everything. But how to create the balance between e-commerce, between that online experience that has developed pretty fast, especially due to pandemic, but even before, with the brick and mortar concept. How to create that balance?
Yeah, that is a tough thing to do. All right, because they've got this well-built siloed environment, and switching to what I'm describing the microservices or agile environment
Hmm.
is a huge challenge. Some of the retailers are making an enormous mistake in that world, in that they're trying to do the whole company, and that doesn't help them.
Hmm.
So what you really need to do is identify the company's strategy, and then identify the people, the processes, and the technology that directly supports that strategy. Which means a lot of the retailers' siloed world will still exist because it's not financially viable to change. But you want to change the things that are tied directly to your strategy and focus on that. So if you have to change something at the strategy level, you can quickly change the support for it. And you don't have to try to change everything. It's like I said, it's too big a job to try to change everything in a retailer's environment. So change those things that make you money and make your
Right,
customer happy.
right. So identify what those are and then change them.
Right, right.
So what would be the technology that is a must for that? Is there something like that?
But that's the microservices thing I just mentioned. It's where
Mm-hmm.
you have one instance of the software running in a cloud environment that everybody in your retail enterprise uses, and that lets you change that software. You change one instance of the software and you change everything. Today they roll it out, and to roll out a new point of sale upgrade, takes years to do. And
Mm-hmm.
each retailer, each retail store has their own software version. They have the things they integrate with, and those are at different versions. And upgrading all of that stuff is a massive nightmare. That's where the art standards come into play, because
Mm-hmm.
they make all of that common, and you have one common set of connections. So that's the beauty of what all of that massive amount of work done by the arts folks.
That's pretty amazing because it's a huge industry. It's worldwide. I'm just amazed by how wide the grasp of all of it is. It's really pretty. You are a real wizard. What can I say?
Yeah,
And
well,
everybody you've worked with.
yeah, uh, my brain's expanded in my head, and that's why I lost my hair. It pushed it out by the roots.
Yes, yes, we knew that, of course. Like that just happens. It's legit science, legit science. um, so I want to ask for a recommendation from you because you have so much experience and knowledge. What do you recommend retailers in terms of technology? Is there something else besides microservices you've mentioned so they are ready for the future? I can add, I even feel that the future is today. Like future has already come, it's now.
It is. It is now. Yes. Yeah. And if you're not already moving into that world, as I mentioned, that being able to change your development process so you can focus your technology work on your strategy and the people and processes that are necessary to execute that strategy. That's the future. Right now you're focused on what makes you money and what makes your customers happy, and that's really the change. To execute it is this microservices world, of course, but to that's your focus, is people, processes, and technology.
Amazing, and thank you so much for explaining it so clearly. And I don't have a background in it, and now I understand it, and it's pretty interesting. Thank you. So we've mentioned the customer, right? I mean, it's that's why retail exists, to satisfy the customer. We've mentioned the customer is changing. Um, let's say, let's mention augmented reality. Some countries are doing that and have that as a part of the retail experience. So what would you say? Who is setting retail standards now from a customer perspective? Because the world is getting smaller and smaller. And who are early adopters of that technology?
Yeah, augmented reality is simply another way to do comparison shopping, really,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's a cool way to do it online. So that's going to be a critical piece for the future. uh, as anything that you could do with the web, so somebody can sit at their home and do the search. It turned out back in the mall days that teenagers would hang out at the mall with their friends, and they would go into a retail store and look around and try various things and see stuff, and the retailer would chase them away because they weren't buying anything. But what they were really doing was comparison shopping. And then they go home and they get their dad and they go back to the mall. They'd run in and buy whatever it was that their friends helped them pick out and go
Right.
home. And you'll see that same concept with this augmented reality. They'll try things on and see how their friends like it. And if they get, positive feedback, they'll want to buy that. So that's the way it'll morph into the future.
I understand. It's something I've read happens in China, something like that. Also, live shopping experiences. Do you think it's coming to the States as well? Like we see that that exists now, but what do you think? How long will it take for it to become common?
Oh, it's already starting to become common. A lot of companies are experimenting with it, and they're figuring out how to integrate it into what they do. So it's not that far off.
Okay, okay. So maybe maybe we from Europe are still the old world. I don't know. Maybe we're not, but. I definitely
We
understand.
won't mention we won't mention Europe.
Okay. Richard. Okay, we'll do another interview only for Europe.
There you go.
Okay. Um, so I've really grasped a lot of knowledge from you. Thank you. I really have a much better perspective on this topic now. It's really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to another opportunity to talk to you again. But before we go, I just want to ask you if you have any final words for retailers now, and what to focus on in the maybe next 6 months to a year.
The one of the focuses is figuring out how to safely move into this new agile world. That's got to be a critical thing. And like I said, the pandemic has exposed those who are smart enough to have started that move if they've not completed it, and those that haven't. And really, that from a technology perspective is really the key component to this, because now you can respond to your customers very, very quickly and whatever kind of changes that they decide they want to do. Uh, and that's the future.
Awesome. So safely move. I really like that expression.
Yes.
It's very, very, very interesting, and it kind of says it all.
It the this To give you an idea, the IVRM model that I've created is well over a gigabyte in size. I mean, being able to connect all of these processes together, all of the information together, all the way down to the bits and bytes is an enormous task. And you
Absolutely.
just don't want to tackle that on a retail side. You want to do it on a focused side.
Absolutely, it's fantastic. You mentioned that again, and I mentioned, but I will definitely, we will definitely have a link for all our audience, so they can check it out and see what you've talked about. Because it's complex, but it's important that they know that there's a place where they can grasp all of that complexity at once. And
Yeah, yeah. One of the interesting things that I've noticed is a lot of the retailers don't know all of the processes that are going on in their store, and that's
mhm,
simply just the way they've grown. There's just nobody's at fault for this. It's just the way that they grew, uh, and being able to model just their current world is a huge challenge for them. And not only then to model how you want to change that world into the new
right.
world is a second step to that. It's some pretty massive work.
It is. But luckily, we have experts and retail technology gurus like you are to kind of give a better perspective. And I can absolutely say guide us through the change and give advice. Of course, amazing, amazing.
Yes,
Dun,
the
dun,
wizard of.
dun. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much
Well,
for sharing your knowledge and the perspective and being the Wizard of Boss
thank you.
that we definitely, with all this change, need. And a virtual applause, because if we were in a studio, and I've always wanted to be a TV host, you would definitely get a huge one. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I have fun talking about this, as you can tell.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard. And until next time, bye.
Bye.